In this video, I want to tell you how to get started fishing tournaments. If you have clicked on this video, you are obviously wanting to fish a tournament. Maybe you're a little bit younger and you want to fish tournament. Maybe you're a little bit older and you just want to get started fishing tournaments. In this video, I want to talk to you about kind of the path that I would do if I were you, because I think there's a way to do this that will help you in the long run to kind of start having success a lot quicker when it comes to tournament fishing. I also think there's a bad way of doing this. Now, me personally, I've been fishing tournaments for almost 20 years. I started when I was 15 years old, and I love fishing tournaments. I fish probably an average of 40-ish tournaments every single year, and I love them. You know, a lot of those are local tournaments. I've also fished a lot of national tournaments. I fished as a Bassmaster Open boater for over 6 years. So I have a little bit of experience all over the place. I love fishing tournaments, and I'm gonna talk to you all about that in this video. Now, before I get into the video, this one is brought to you by my apparel company, Finn Fishing. I have USA made sun shirts. I have hats with wooden bass badges on them. I have a number of other products. And right now, guys, if you buy one of these USA made sun shirts, that's gonna help you be protected from the sun, you actually get a free Finn Fishing rod glove. So this is a neoprene rod glove. They are not the cheap versions. These are really nice because they don't get hung in every single hook that is in your rod locker. And even if they do get hung in there, they pop right out. It really makes life, you know how frustrating that can be. All you gotta do though is add the sun shirt to cart, add the rod glove to cart. It will automatically discount at checkout. It is the best way to help support this channel. All right, let's talk about tournament fishing. To me, this is a passion. Like, I love tournament fishing. I just love it. I've always been very competitive. I played a number of sports throughout middle school, high school, and I just love the competition side of things. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how I think you should get started in tournaments if you're like out of college, and how you should get started if you are, you know, maybe in middle school or high school or in college. So firstly, let's talk about if you're out of college and you're a little bit older, not like old, like if you're 28 or 35 or 45 or 55 or 65 and you want to get started fishing tournaments. Now, there might be some guys out there that tell you to start fishing weekday tournaments, like your little jackpot ones. And I'm going to talk specifically about those because I think that that is a very important part of tournament fishing. But what I suggest you do is look for local Saturday or Sunday weekend tournaments on the bodies of water that are close to you, especially ones that you are familiar with. I think it's important to fish lakes that you're familiar with if you're going to be putting pressure on the line. And the reason that I say do that over a jackpot tournament is because a lot of these weekend or weekday jackpot tournaments, which are probably my favorite tournaments to fish, they really put a lot of stress on you because you have to catch fish quick. Like, you have 3 hours, maybe 4 hours at most to go out there and catch 5 fish. And although that might sound like a lot of times, when it's in a tournament situation, there's pressure on the line, it's not a lot of time. So I highly suggest getting started by looking. There's a lot of different websites that'll say, hey, you know, Sally Joe's 3rd annual Bass Open on whatever lake is happening this weekend. Those are the type of tournaments to jump into. And a lot of times I like those as well because they're not always really expensive. Sometimes you can get into these tournaments for 80 bucks, 100 bucks, you know, and so it's fairly cheap to get into them. And you can win a lot of good money. But the thing that I like is that it gives you a full day, an 8-hour day to try to figure out the fish. And I think that that is really, really important when you are just getting started. Give yourself some time. You know, if you give yourself some time on the water, it's not gonna put as much stress on you. You're gonna make better decisions and hopefully start doing better. Now, eventually, after you've maybe kind of get the handle of how tournaments operate and everything like that, then I think one of the best things you can do is jump into those jackpot tournaments. I really believe in the weekday tournament, the weeknight tournament that's 3-4 hours long. And the thing about these tournaments is I think that they really help you to make quicker decisions. And I think that that is, in tournament fishing, decision making is everything. And the more little weeknight tournaments that you fish, the better you're going to become because you are forced to make quick decisions. And you learn so quickly, especially if you fish them for like an entire year. Like, I fish a little Tuesday night event and they have 20 20 or 21 tournaments throughout the year, and you fish the same body of water 20 weeks in a row, not only do you learn that lake really quick, but you just learn so much about fishing and how fish move. And I think that those are really, really important. So I highly suggest after you fish, a handful of those Saturday and Sunday tournaments to jump into the weeknight tournaments. They're usually really cheap to get into. I mean, you're talking 40 bucks, 30 bucks sometimes. They're just a lot of fun too. Like, you get to know guys that are around you that can become some of your best friends. So definitely do those. I think that will help you a lot. Now, I want to go to the younger crowd real quick, because when I was 15 years old, all I wanted to do was fish tournaments. And I jumped into a lot of, well, actually, let me back up. I'm sorry. When it comes to jumping in these tournaments, there's one thing that I want you to know, and that you're going to get your teeth kicked in from time to time. There is no way around it. Even if you are Kevin Van Dam, I am sure Kevin Van Dam had some tournaments, local tournaments, where he absolutely sucked, like, for lack of better words. Like, he absolutely did not do well. So just understand that that's going to happen. If you jump into a tournament and you don't catch a fish, it's okay. We have all been there. Everyone who is watching this who has fished a tournament has been there. I can almost guarantee it. I know a couple tournaments where I have zeroed. I have caught 0 fish, no fish, nothing, zilch, and it's okay. It's going to happen. You have to trust the process. All right, let's go back to the younger crowd, that middle school, high school, and college age student. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how I think you can kind of get better and be more successful at tournament fishing. I love this stuff. I could talk about this for days. So middle schoolers, high schoolers, college kids, the best thing these days, and even in my days, they were really starting to come about, was that there are tournaments specific for your age groups these days. There are high school tournaments, there are college tournaments, and those are easily the best things that you can do. Now, I still think that if maybe you're 16 or 17, you have your license, you can drive a boat, I still think you can jump into some of those open tournaments and even weeknight tournaments to help you kind of perfect your craft. But just know that you're going to be competing against guys who have been fishing some of the same bodies of water like me for 20 years. Okay, so just understand that that is going to happen. Now, that's why I like, hey, jump into the high school tournaments. You're competing against these guys, other high schoolers who are in kind of the same realm as you. They're getting to know their local lakes, and they don't really understand a lot about tournament fishing. That's going to help you to be a lot more successful competing against kind of your own peers. And the same thing for high school, middle school, they have junior programs, as well as the college programs. I think that those are really, really important to do, because they kind of get some of those like jitters out of you when you're competing against like your own peers. And if you're really young, maybe you're watching this and you're like 13 or 14, you don't have a license, you don't have a boat, the cool thing is that you can jump into tournaments where you have like a boat captain who will take you everywhere. So then you start to learn things about boats, and you start to learn how to use a trolling motor, and eventually how to run and operate a boat. So that's really, really important to understand as well. So now we kind of have the base. We have a base of, all these guys who are getting into their first tournaments. And like I said, don't be afraid. You're going to get your teeth kicked in. Just know that that's going to happen. Like, just put it behind you. You're only as good as your last tournament. That is 100% true, because you see this even in the professional leagues. Like, you will see guys who have crappy 3, 4, 5 tournaments where they are just sucking, and then all of a sudden they do well or win one tournament, they're on the top of the moon. It's the same thing in the local levels. Like, you can suck for 3 or 4 tournaments and then win one, and you are the cream of the crop. So just understand you are only as good as your last tournament. Now, the big thing when it comes to getting better in tournaments, I think, especially the local tournament, is finding a guy or a partner that you have good chemistry with. To me, this is one of the best things that you can do, because over the years of fishing so many tournaments, I have heard these bad these bad tournament partners, guys who maybe both of these guys are kind of have a big ego and they both want to be at the front of the boat as opposed to having one guy at the front of the boat or one guy at the back of the boat. That stuff, like, you need to find good chemistry with somebody out there on the water. And so this is why I think you should fish with some of your best friends. You know, I have been fishing with like my best friend for a number of years. And the good thing is that we have like great chemistry. We also fish a little bit differently. So sometimes he will find fish that I don't find. I find fish that he doesn't find. And that works really, really well when situations arise out there on the water. The other thing that's good to kind of like know is that it's okay to like tell someone no. Like I bring this example up to my buddy all the time because we were fishing this one particular point on a lake. We had fished it for like 25 or 30 minutes, hadn't caught a fish, hadn't had a bite, right? And it was pretty windy out, and he really had like wanted to fish this area. And we had fished it for long enough. He's like, dude, do you want to make one more drift here? And I told him, I was like, no, bro. I was like, you know as well as I do that if the fish are here, we're going to catch them quick. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You know, like, so I think it's really important to be able to have that type of conversation out there on the water. I'm laughing thinking about that. Now, the same thing has happened to me where I want to fish a certain way. And he's like, dude, we're not catching big ones doing this. We need to change. Okay. So it's good to have someone who you can be like that out there on the water. I think that you can also kind of help each other to grow as anglers. Now, the other thing is that I think it's really important to start doing co-angler events. If you are just getting started in fishing, whether you're young or you're old, be a co-angler with guys who are really good. You know, I think the BFLs still do this. There's a number of tournament series that still have a co-angler. And the best thing that you can do in that situation as a co-angler is not try to be the winner. I know that sounds weird as a co-angler. I think the best thing you can do as a co-angler is try to learn. Try to learn from your pro. Ask him questions. Ask him why he's doing what he's doing. That is what I think is really, really important. Obviously, we want to catch a fish. We want to do well in a tournament. But I think the learning aspect of it is way far more important. I remember I fished the Bassmaster Opens back in 2008 and 2009 as a co-angler. And I got to jump in the boat with some big name pros, like some really awesome guys, and even got to jump in the boat with guys who weren't big name guys, but I just got to watch a guy attacking a body of water. And I just paid attention to like little things that they would do. And I ask questions. I'm a guy who will ask questions. I like to know why. And so I wasn't afraid. Now I was in the boat with a couple of buttholes. I was in the boat with a couple of buttholes who were like, don't talk to me type of guys. So I wanted to respect them. I know that they paid a lot of money to be in that particular event, so I understand it, right? I totally understand it. But there's a lot of guys who like to share. Like I always told my co-anglers or my boaters, like, hey, like I'm trying to learn. Can you just talk through some of your reasonings behind what you're doing? And that really helped me. I feel like that helped me more than anything, whether that's a big event like a Bassmaster Open or a little local event. I think that that's really important to understand. And again, don't be competitive, or don't try to win them all. Just try to learn. You are paying for experience. This is a quote that me and my buddy came up with. Anytime you go to a tournament and you suck, you are paying for experience, right? There's a lot of guys who will spend a lot of money on school to learn things that they don't always teach them the best things when they get to a job. The best thing about bass fishing, you might pay for a day to go out there on the water, $80. A lot of times, even if you don't catch anything, you learn something that helps you a lot. So anyways, that is what I think can really, really help you. I've been all over the place with this video. I really have. I should have structured this out because I realized that I've been all over the place. Now, guys, I did a video a long, long time ago, like 3 years ago or so on BassFishingHQ, where it was very unedited, kind of like this is, but I talked about how to start winning bass tournaments, especially your local tournaments. And I'm gonna leave that video linked right here because although it's old, the audio kind of sucks, I think there's a lot of good information in this video, things that will help you to just become better. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you tomorrow.